One thing I'll definitely say about Ryobi is they definitely have a good line of tools that other manufacturers like Milwaukee, Rigid, which also come from TTI, which also TTI makes Ryobi, as well as Hilti and DeWalt don't have. This happens to be the particular one of the P727 LED workbench light. And I will say this, it is a good little light. This should actually be one of the extras that you should have from Ryobi, even though if you may be using Hilti, DeWalt, and the other ones, it's just that they don't have this kind of lighting that I would definitely suggest to have as a backup, because it's great for work, like when you're working in the car or the workbench, for the simple fact that this here actually swings 270 degrees around to give you a full light on your work, like so. And the lights do change. There's one, and there's the other one, that's the overhead, and it swings back. One thing I like about this is, as well, has these little hangy things that you can actually hook up, like if you're working in the car, as an example. If you need something where you need to hang the light. I've actually used this at least twice, and I love this little thing, if it will focus. And for me, because I have Ryobi stuff, this is one thing I would definitely suggest other woodworkers would have, even if it's just for emergency use where they don't have enough lighting to work in. Great little thing to have. I highly suggest this as either for power outages or working on a project that you need more light in. A great little project, a great little work table, a workbench light. Let's go to the other one. And here's another one. Another one that I do like, which happens to be portable. I'm just using a smaller, one of my smaller size 18-volt batteries here. It's the 1.3s. This here is actually a P305 Glue Gun, which I haven't used yet. I will be using it soon. One thing I can say about this, again, if you need to bring something like this over to a project where you need to temporarily put two pieces of, let's say as an example, wood temporarily until you can get it either screwed or nailed in, this is great to have. Or working with small projects where you don't want to be tethered to a cord to a wall outlet. Again, this is using an 18-volt battery. There is a small little switch here which lets you heat up the actual iron on the inside to melt the actual glue gun. And it uses the half-inch, half-round glue, and they usually come in sticks, so it's stick format, 4 feet, so you can actually screw it in. The battery for this one, they always suggest about a 4 amp hour battery on this from Ryobi, which gives you about 3.5 hours, which I have not tested yet, but I do have 4 amp hours, 6 amp hours, and 9 amp hours that I can use with this. And again, what I like about this is the battery itself can use it as a stand to keep this from falling over, because most of the time with glue guns that I've used in the past that are corded, most likely you'll have like a little wiring harness here that lets you tip it forward, but it tends to all the glue tends to fall out in the front. So, and there is the tip that is interchangeable. You can actually replace the tip here, which is a great little thing I like about this. Again, not too expensive. Another great tool when you don't need to be corded to your table or workbench. Definitely have one of these. It's great as a little backup. Let's go to the next one. Here is a nice little one. This one here is a P744 AMFM with Bluetooth capability for listening to your fine music, and you can also use externally, whether it's from your from your radio, not from your radio, from CD. You have an auxiliary in, plus you can actually charge your cell phone while you're using it, because there's a nice little band here that you can put on the back. This year I've actually used sorry about that. I've actually used this at least twice. One when I was actually working on a project outside, where I've used my 1.3 amp hour battery, which lasts a good couple hours on that. I think it's about up to 6 or 7 hours. Probably not on the 1.3s, but definitely on the larger batteries. And again, I've only used this a couple of times for power outages. And it comes with a 10 channel for both AM and FM, so you can actually record, not record, but at least have your 10 favorite channels on here on both the AM and FM dials, which happens to be great. I definitely suggest having this around. Again, the only one thing I can say is Milwaukee, Rigid, DeWalt do not have something like this. They do have larger radios where you can actually charge the battery in the back of the radio, but you cannot use the radio and the battery at the same time, because it actually is a hybrid to let you charge the battery but not use it as a standard radio. This here is just a standard 18 volt radio where I have, again, my 1.3 hooked in there. Here we go. My P102 1.3s, which is good for a couple hours, and it does keep track of time and date. So let's head over to my next one. And here we have another line from Ryobi, the P73738 inflator. Actually, this is actually a good one for two particular reasons. One of them, besides inflating regular air-filled beds, or what they call, it's basically to inflate small little things like which you would use for inflating beds, inflatable beds, because it has this little attachment, and one for smaller ones like beach balls. This here also can be used as a blower, because of the simple fact is you have this switch that can be turned on and it'll start blowing like crazy. I would suggest to have this even for just cleaning off the work area that you're using and using it to inflate beds. I haven't tried this personally out yet, but I have used this for my other projects where I'm actually cutting and I needed to clear out some good old-fashioned cuttings and sand and sawdust. Really practical to have, and very powerful to the extent that I needed to clear out the workbench itself. I've always loved this. A little bit loud, but that's okay. That's something I can handle with, because I do have a set of ear muffs that I can actually that I can actually use to deaden the sound. But it's a great little product. I would definitely suggest to have this for cleaning up your work area when you're dealing with cutting wood. Great little product. Always love to have this with me when I'm doing my projects. So let's go to the next one, and I'll be right back. And here's the last one in my series of products, of Ryobi products that you should have in your arsenal of tools, even though if you have the other name brands like Rigid, Milwaukee, DeWalt. This here is an actual tire inflator, P737. See right there, P737. It's a great little product, and I do recommend this for people. I bring this here with me. I don't bring the 1.3 amp hour battery. I usually bring a 3 amp hour battery with me, and I've used this on several occasions, considering my tires were low at the time due to a faulty valve and whatnot. It does come with a tire gauge that can fill up to 150 pounds without any problems, and I love this. I bring this here with me wherever I go, just in case when I do see a tire that looks like it's going flat slowly. Whoop! I pull this little son of a gun out, plug it in into the nipple of the tire, check the tire pressure, and inflate it. Now, this one here, it's not a bad little thing. I did read the instructions on this when using it. They usually suggest 5 minutes inflating a tire and then 5 minutes cooling off, for the simple fact that the internals tend to get a little warm, so you have to let it cool down a little bit. I've used this for that extent and let it cool down for 5 minutes, and it's a great little product. I love this. I bring this with me every day with my car. Not that the saying that my tires are always flat, but I've always brought it with me for the simple fact that it's a great little emergency thing for the tires, and I love it. And even with my friends, when they say, "Hey, my tire's low," hey, you know, whatever, I bring this here. I whip this thing here out with the battery and say, "Let's fill it up." I always suggest my friends and colleagues, if they ever do have a tire problem, have something like this around. It's better than the ones that you can get at your local renovation center where it plugs into the car battery. Here you don't have to worry about that. This here actually uses its own battery, anywhere from a 1.3 amp hour to the 9 amp hour from Ryobi. I usually use a 4 amp hour or 3 or 4 amp hour battery on it, and it works great. And it does come with some attachments for basketball or small inflatable things that can sit right here, as you can see in my finger, where my finger is at. And it's a great little tool. So this is actually my final roundup of which products you should have from Ryobi, even if you have other tools from other manufacturers like DeWalt, Rigid, Hilti, or even DeWalt. And that's it for the reviews, folks.